Financial disclaimer. The information provided in this stream is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional financial or investment advice. We are not licensed financial advisors, and the content presented here is based on our personal opinions and experiences. Investing in stocks and other financial instruments involves risk, including the potential loss of capital. Any investment decisions you make are solely your own responsibility, and you should conduct your own research and consult with a qualified financial professional before making any investment choices. The content we share on this stream may not be accurate, complete, or up to date. Market conditions and financial regulations can change rapidly, and we cannot guarantee the accuracy or reliability of the information presented. We do not endorse or promote any specific stocks, companies, or investment strategies. Any actions you take based on the content of this stream are at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses or damages that may occur as a result. Always remember that past performance is not indicative of future results, and no investment is guaranteed to be profitable. Make informed decisions and consider your risk tolerance before investing any funds. By accessing and using this stream, you acknowledge and agree that we are not responsible for any investment decisions you make as a result of the content presented. You are encouraged to seek advice from qualified financial professionals for personalized guidance. Please invest responsibly and only with money you can afford to lose.
Hey man, just found the next guaranteed multi-bagger.
Hey man, you found another one? What is it this time?
Come check this out.
Okay, next please. How can I help you, young man?
We want to go all in on ARE. We love the name change to Re-Alpha Tech Corp, and we believe in the real estate-focused AI.
Well, that's fantastic. A really smart decision, young man. We can put that check and it's gone.
Johnny, welcome to Laughing Stock. Nice glasses.
Yeah, thank you. The glasses has been on now. Very positive moving forward.
Yeah, this is honestly what we need, especially with the tariff news coming back in. From what I can tell, I mean, just the way the markets have reacted, I mean, we were down like a little bit at the end of last week, but I also think everyone's like kind of like, whereas last time everyone overreacted because the news, I feel like this time everyone's underreacting because we're just like, let's see if it even holds. Like, you know, every time like these tariffs get put in place, the markets start to drop and then they change it because they're like, we don't want to see the markets go down.
Yeah. People are getting a bit used to it, right? And at the end of the, I don't remember, but was in March, people were starting to make a little bit fun of it. They were sick and tired of having to deal with all the volatility that it was so unpredictable, right? Yeah. So maybe now you will see a reaction, of course, but maybe it will be a bit different than what we saw the first time.
Yeah, I'm wondering if like Trump's idea here is to see, you know, now that markets are, I think like the S&P is up 7%-ish around there. You know, if he can put tariffs in place and just keep that number positive for the year, and then, you know, kind of just let this smooth into the markets. You know, obviously it's going to affect businesses different. Certain markets are going to do well. I mean, we were talking about it just before here. Obviously metals and everything like that's going through the roof right now.
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, well, and Bitcoin too, just seems bullish for the overall market. So I don't know.
Yeah, it does.
I think that's more just everyone's just piling in more and more to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But like Bitcoin's a good example right now. I think when I looked at it this morning, what was it at?
It's up slightly.
It's barely down, which makes me think that if it's barely down, that's kind of representative of what the markets will look like. And even though last week there was some days down, I still barely saw, I'm just trying to get over to crypto. It's down 0.25% right now. But either way, like, I don't know, there was days that stuff were down last week, but then same thing, like if I have my market strength up here, this is like my correlation. Anything over like, I don't know, 8 is decent, and anything over like 10 or 12 is like in that range is like a good day. It's great for breakouts and everything like that. And I mean, look at this last week. I mean, you know, these are great days. Some of the strongest I've had since I mean, this obviously this area is ugly.
Yeah.
And that was from the original tariff news. But like this is from the first tariff news, and this is like now that tariffs are coming back in. Look at what the market. I mean, it's crazy different. So I just I don't believe it quite yet. Breakouts are still working.
And I mean, the market is at an all-time high, right? So it is. You can argue since April, really, it's been a good market we have been operating in.
Yeah, and I feel like the last month specifically, like June-ish, really breakouts were working like left and right. There's been a lot. Not saying it's easy to catch. Like, you know, that's always the trick with breakouts is actually getting into them at the right time and being able to hold them for the right amount of time. But
Yeah.
they are occurring.
Yeah.
I did see a little bit of a pullback. There was some weakness, and another thing actually I was just looking at is if you go to insiders. This is the smallest
Yeah.
I've seen it in a long time.
Oh yeah.
So in terms of actual people putting money where their mouth is, that's pulled back quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because
Maybe they are waiting for a bigger crack from the news they know is going to come, you know.
yeah. I'm just looking at these.
Because even now we know a lot of these tariffs already, right? And the market has kind of reacted, but things can change. And what Trump is hoping for is that countries come to the negotiation table, and that can end up being positive or negative for everyone. And it's just a little bit tricky still to try to make sense of how everything's going to react. But we have seen a lot of money coming into the market in the last months or so scared. You know, people have not been so scared so far, at least, but maybe a bit more careful now that we are here.
Yeah, and I also think too, it's going to be more of a reactive market in terms of, you know, once people start seeing earnings and stuff drop, like if you're actually affected by the tariffs, then people will start to react. So I think now it's going to be a lagging indicator, not a assuming anything forward wise, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who lost money last time because they sold, you know, a little bit late into that drop, and then it rallied pretty quickly. So, I mean, if we just pull up just the NASDAQ or whatnot, you know, for anybody who probably sold like even in here or something, you know, this came back quick, and I don't think a lot of people were really confident in this section, which I understand. It's tough to be. So I don't think it's probably until it crossed this 200-day moving average that, you know, traders and everyone got interested again. And you know, I hope if you're a value investor that somewhere in here you started to find something.
Yeah.
Because that's where I got USEG is somewhere. I don't remember exactly where I got USEG.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is in April, right? So
April. Yeah, actually, so I timed that actually well for my only, I mean, that's really my only value play I've done all year.
Yeah. I
Which
saw
if you're new to the
USEG,
stream here, we do deep value and swing trading as well. So it's two different things as we're talking about this.
Yeah.
But
and
yeah,
we love
metals are
both.
up. I don't really see much else moving.
During the week, airlines had a good
that's true.
had a good day. I think oil. It was interesting. I texted you, right? Because the oil futures were down like 2% or something, but a lot of the oil stocks were actually up on the same day. So
Yeah,
that's just something that caught my eye.
You know, oil and everything. Natural gas was down a little bit, but oil was up. But natural gas it's like, well, I guess in the southern hemisphere it's cold, but I don't know how much they use natural gas down in those countries.
Yeah, I saw coal. They also came into the strong group on Finviz. So they had a good week in general, I think.
Value, if you're in here, do you use natural gas in New Zealand? Is that a thing?
Well, all I can say is when I lived in Australia, I lived close to. I know Valley from New Zealand, but it's close. In Australia, I lived close to a train station, and those train came in with these freight trains full of coal, and they made so much noise could almost not hear anything in the
Oh, yeah.
apartment.
Well, yeah, coal, I'm sure. Yeah, I don't know what they use down there. That's probably something
Yeah.
I should be able to find out.
Yeah, Australia big on coal still, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, just trying to find some kind of weakness in the market. Like this is stuff that was down for the week, which I don't know why there's all these blanks in here. Apparently, I can't find some of these tickers or whatever the heck it's doing. But
Yeah.
why is that like that? Hold on, let me look at something here. Why? I don't know why it's missing some of these names. Speaking of Suzzle.
Yeah, I know.
But
It's and there was others as well as Cecil who has been pretty ugly declines.
But I mean, this is always how this looks. Healthcare, in tech tends to move a lot, so you see those a lot in the weekly movers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
IEVA
daily,
same chart almost.
This was actually a good week for me. I had a good week. If we go over to the portfolio, I was almost up 3%, so I gained back a little bit of what.
That's nice.
Yeah, which this is also correlated with that one terrible week I had. So the overall month, and this is just a month trailing. It's not like it's not like July or June or anything like that.
Yeah.
But year to date, I'm still at almost 24. So
Very good.
the goal's 50. Every year it's 50.
Yeah.
That way I can retire in just a few more years.
That's going to be good.
So
I had
50%. It won't take long.
Yeah. I had a bit of a tougher week. Not a big loss or anything, but it was tough in the sense that I struggled to stay in the names I took. So I got stopped out on day 2 on most of them. So yeah, it was just a bit frustrating for me this week. And I posted also in Discord a while back that, and it's not like that was everyone could see that the Bitcoin chart looked very good and we're kind of setting up for a breakout. And I was ready to get involved in it through a ETF. But then as I told you last time, I changed broker, and my account was locked for trading in those ETFs. So when I was going to execute, I couldn't. And I had to take like a test, and then I took the test and I passed the test. It wasn't that wasn't a problem. It was just a problem that I'm not in the States. So they have a rule that I can't deal in these kinds of ETFs. So now I've tried to find a European version that I had to take another test to get involved with that one, and now I need to get approved. So it's just a slow process. I missed out on it. Mm-hmm. So that was a bit frustrating, because I've been looking at this and had a plan for how to get involved, and bad timing, just a big mess, and it just sucks because I think Bitcoin looks strong right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking in terms of how everything looks here, I've been keeping things as simple as I can. I've been looking for kind of like a box for values to determine where resistance and support is, and I'd argue somewhere this is the range. Yeah. And as soon as it broke out on this day, if you're trying to trade it, this is where you get in.
Yeah. And it has held up pretty strong after that. So yeah, let's see it all.
Yeah, but like it's just been doing this. I mean, this line's probably a little low, but like if you're doing the same thing somewhere in here-ish, like trying to make these lines, same thing on this one. Each time it tends to break out of this box region. It's a good point for a swing trade. So there's not a lot of selling going. I think most people who are in Bitcoin are just kind of holding. I mean, this thing is one of those ones that's just went out for so long that there's not a lot of people trying to sell this. Now we'll see, because this could pull back, especially with tariff news. As people start to become a little bit more bearish, we could possibly see this all change. But for now, it looks like it's going to hold.
Yeah, it does.
But
we have been talking about it before.
All I was saying is just this does somewhat track to what the Nasdaq and S&P look
Yeah,
like. So
I was going to say the same, and maybe a positive sign for the market moving forward that Bitcoin was breaking out now. But yeah, let's see. Like we say in this environment, things tend to also drop back a little bit, give back some of the gain pretty quickly. So that can happen as well, of course. We just need to track everything. But yeah, it sucked a bit. I lost my entry here.
yeah. I mean, it's one of those names that, like, you know, even though it's moved up here, I'm not looking for these kind of percent gains. They're just too small for me. So I'm not interested in Bitcoin. I'm sticking to stuff that's below 3 billion. It just constantly seems to work better.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't really follow ADR. I know a lot of people hold ADR super highly, and I understand why. It's not like it's not a great thing to use. I just don't have a good way of using it in stock charts. And honestly, I find market cap and just overall, knowing how many shares are out there, what the float is, that kind of thing. You can kind of. I do have ATR, so I mean I have another version, but
Yeah.
either way, another stock that you had brought up that I know everyone's kind of looking in right now is the old CLBR Acquisition Corp.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot
What is
going
this
on with
story
this one.
there?
Sorry, what?
This seems like a little bit of you know, meme stock potential.
Yeah, it does. It does seem very meme-ish. Now, obviously, they're talking about acquiring something. They're possibly going to change the names. I don't even know how this thing has earnings, but sure.
Yeah.
But,
No, but
the one thing I'll say is in terms of
I
the
read
box.
somewhere.
Sorry, what's up?
Sorry? No, I read somewhere that they are going to merge on Tuesday.
I mean, it's a bit of a flag. I don't really care about I guess what I really want to do is say somewhere in here, to me it looks like there's like a box somewhere in there. And so technically it's kind of breaking out on this box. I mean, sure, you can move this stupid line up to here if you want. I don't care. It doesn't matter. My point being is that you're just looking for it to start to break out of this area. It actually did close at 1722, which is almost at the all-time high in terms of closing. So if this one continues up, which I know in after hours it was above that. Now I don't hold after hours super high because it's kind of whatever. I don't know how much volume that actually was. I know I can look that up.
It wasn't a lot. It's very low volume.
I just want to say, Yahoo, your website keeps getting worse and worse to the point like I hate it. So I'm using it less and less. I'm actually trying to transfer everything off. I don't know what you guys are going for, but it's getting worse and worse.
I also changed to more and more to Market Watch for the same kind of information that I get from Yahoo.
Yeah, this is the one thing Yahoo had left was finance, and they're just driving it into the ground right now, in my opinion. So continue the great work, guys. But yeah, so after hours it was up a little bit. And once again, there's nothing helpful here in terms of volume. So
no. But I did a little bit.
See, on stock charts, I can look at this is after hours here. So
yeah,
pretty low volume.
But look at the volume. No, nothing.
Nothing like here. But like, you know, this is another thing too. It got up to $18. I got up to 18.40 when it was kind of running up on Friday, and then there was a huge sell-off there.
Yeah.
So I don't. Who knows how much this is actually going to run? But it is meme-ish, like you were saying. So on Monday, if this is one that you're going to try and trade, just be aware it's probably going to be pretty volatile. You'll probably have a good idea in the morning if it's going to really run up. And if it does have a ton of volume in the morning, be careful, because that's one of the ones that they're really tough if they're up a ton to get in and hold it.
Yeah.
And you said the merger is technically Wednesday?
Tuesday, I think.
Or Tuesday, yeah. So,
but I've just read a little bit, so you need to read up on this yourself. I don't have control of the story here. What I know is that they have some big investors involved. Donald Trump's son is involved here. He's also tweeting about it. So I guess that's something, right? And then there's some big investors also that I know from February was tweeting about it, but a lot of things have happened since then, so I'm not updated on that. And I saw like one of those platforms from one of the guys who we followed on Reddit for a little bit, right? He created a platform. Can't remember the name now, but a lot of people there owns this, and it was trending like on stock tweets and on that platform. So it does have some meme story to it as well. So I think they're gonna merge. This is like a ammunition company or something. Like they're gonna deal in guns.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another part. Like I know a lot of people doesn't want to invest in that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, and as always, do your own research. We're not recommending this as a buy. I mean, you know,
no.
I mean, really, even I mean, this chart looks crazy. Like this last bit, I mean, really, it's only up. It's not even up 100% from this $10 mark. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and another thing that I saw was people were mentioning like some kind of short interest, but from when I checked, there's almost no short interest here. So
Well, people
I
throw
don't
that
know.
around all the time when it's meme-ish.
Yeah, maybe I overlooked something or something. I don't know, but I just checked the short. I think it was below 2%. So
I use stock twits a lot just to quickly check things. It's not like you know, it's really just keep an eye on stuff as things are moving. And if you go into the comment section, it's just nonsense. Like,
yeah,
there's so many people on there who are just like, talking about shorts getting burned, and there's a lot of people I really think that have just no clue what's going on. But
yeah, they just jumped on the train for people are talking about it on forums and stuff like that. Which it doesn't matter in some cases, right? That there are a lot of interest behind something, but what you really need is like still big investors pushing the stock up,
yeah, and I mean, we've watched it. We've seen. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Sometimes if you catch a name on Reddit or whatever on Wall Street Bets or something, and it's like just becoming kind of popular, but at the same time too, there's so many times I've seen it where the name becomes really popular, and like in the pre-market, like something's way up, and then by the end of the day, it's down like 30%. So
yeah,
it's not really like it's any kind of causation.
No. One point I found interesting, which I kind of agree with, like the thinking behind it. But again, I just saw that someone has taken a screenshot of some guy that is like well known in Wall Street Bets or something, and he was writing about this ticker for a long time. But the point was his comment. At least that's what they said. Reddit had deleted them, and some guy was saying like if Donald Trump Jr. Will if someone will tell him that Reddit are deleting comments to kind of like censor some story about stuff that he's involved in, I'm sure he's going to be very vocal about it in publicly, So that could help generate a story here, but that's a bit like far-fetched, right?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, what made Reddit great before was the fact that it was just like kind of a free, open thing, and now Reddit's obviously public. It's owned by people who control the narratives on Reddit. It's very obvious the algorithms on there are extremely biased, and like Wall Street Bets is like a shell of what it used to be.
Yeah.
It used to truly be a wild casino on there, and if you wanted to go on and watch some funny stuff, that was where you went. And it's just nothing like that anymore. It's gotten totally neutered. So I don't know. I don't even go on it anymore. Which I used to go on Wall Street Bets all the time just because it was so funny to me. So I don't know. It's disappointing.
But I do think his comment was actually deleted because there was a number of people saying they didn't get to read it, so they were very glad they took screenshots of it. So something is going on there. I have no idea why or anything like that, but. I can follow that point to a certain degree, but let's see what happens.
Yeah, but either way, so I mean, I just know this is something to keep an eye on. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, this has popped up on my screeners quite a bit because even though, and the only reason I haven't taken it is because this is just so volatile. It's super choppy. Don't get me wrong. I could draw a box, and you could draw a box on any section, Like if I want, I could technically be like, oh, here's a box, you know, and so that doesn't really mean anything. If you would have bought on this day, right as it hit here, you possibly could have caught this. You possibly could have got smoked the next day. So it doesn't really mean anything.
No.
Now we use stop losses here, and everyone should. I highly recommend it. Once again, this isn't financial advice, but I found it so much easier to control my margin of safety, which kind of is out of context because margin of safety is typically associated with deep value or value. And I use it in terms when I'm trading in terms of my stop loss. I honestly think it's the same thing. I know a lot of traders and value investors think there's nothing in common, but I totally disagree with that. But either way, if you're going to try and do something like this, just know you might have to have a loose stop because it's probably going to be up and down all over the place and you're going to get stopped out if you have it too tight. Which is why I said it's tough to get in on these things. But I will say, everything's continuing to move up. But the problem is it moves up, it gets wiped out. It moves up, it gets wiped out. So your chance of holding this is super tough.
Yeah. No, I agree. I first saw this when also the chart wasn't very attractive, so I just discounted it a bit. But now, if you're ever gonna look at a breakout here, the time is probably this week, right? Because it does look better now. Had some volume the last 2 days as well. But what scares me is, of course, like you said before here, it went up to 18.5 and then just straight down to where it is now again on the same day. So
yeah, but that's just a lot of momentum coming in. That's people just buying as they're looking at I pulled up the intraday chart here on purpose because you have to think everyone's on different time frames. Like we're looking at a daily right now, but if you're looking at the intraday, same idea. If you had bought on one of these pops anywhere in here, this is a great breakout. It's on a 1 minute time frame, and if you were able to hold and then get out somewhere in here, getting in at the top here, it doesn't matter. It works fine. But like I said, it depends on your time frame. And then here, I'm assuming this was either one big person or a couple big whales, kind of being like, all right, the rally's ended. And then once it breaks below volume weighted or the VWAP, it's kind of all over. It did test it, and right on at the end of the day, which is actually pretty impressive. But like you said, this is all just trading, and it depends on what you look for. And I tend to look for the areas of support and resistance, and then breaking out from that point. I always find that's the easiest charts for me. Like this week, for instance, my on Friday I took OSS. That one to me was a pretty easy one. Now this is more of the cup and handle type, and it really didn't even have a handle. This one just kind of took off. But as it breaks out of this region here, and this is also the 52-week region. That's part of the reason I take these ones without necessarily having the consolidation. I found if it doesn't have the 50, or if it has a 52-week high, you don't necessarily need the consolidation. You could have argued there's some kind of consolidation here, but this is too choppy for me. But this is a little easier for me to read than some of the other ones.
Yeah.
We were looking at Next. That was another one that was kind of same idea. Now, I probably should. You and I had talked about it. I'm an idiot. I put my stop or my order in literally at it was 978 or 77 or something, and I missed it by a penny, and it went up from there.
Yeah,
so
it did.
There's me saving money for no reason.
Trying to follow your principle.
I know, and I try not to. I don't chase, so I won't break it when I put my price in. But just one of those things where I'm like, man, if I when you're at $9 and you're talking a penny, it's not really that big of a deal. I could have just gotten in.
Yeah. Another group that showed some strength early this week was aerospace and defense, right? And if you pull up the ticker ATRO, that one is kind of right there now.
Yeah, these ones are tough for me, and the reason why I say that is because these ones that have the big pullback and then they pop up from here, these ones are good to get in on, but it's tough because it's already up 16%. This is one
Yeah,
maybe if I have a chance I would take on Monday.
Yeah, exactly. Either if it continues on Monday, you can probably catch it, but a little bit of a sideways move here would also be good, I think.
But same
But it
reason
went up 16%, so it was a lot in that day. I didn't even. I wanted to just put it on the watch list, you know.
Yeah, but this is what I'm trying to allude to is like, for instance, here. Now this one was a little bit easier because there's consolidation here and then it popped up. But same thing, every time it pops up, the next day it barely holds and it travels sideways. Same thing, this one popped up, barely holds. I mean, how to say where you get in? I mean, sure, if you could get in right in the morning and that's just what you take, and you treat this more like a EP, you can probably play some of these, but unless you catch this bottom part of the candle here, if you go in on the next day, you're going to get murdered. Same thing here. This one pops up. Next day, it looks good in the morning and then drops all day. You're going to get stopped out. Now, if you hold it for the while, sure. But every time it has a pop, the next few days, it's down. I would not be surprised on Monday if this is down. It might start early, but it could pull back. And I mean, you got one, I guess we'll say 2, 3, 4, 5 examples of where it happens, where it fails. So to me, I look at that in the history and it makes me a little cautious on something like this. Not to say it won't work, but those are little things I watch for.
Yeah.
But that's why I say when something's up 16%, if you don't catch, if you're not in on this first day, you're getting in late. So just something to think about.
And it was there was not really a setup in terms of breakout on Friday. So I saw some people are also using like a strategy to buy when things are pulling back up after, you know, meeting some of the key moving averages. So this one hit the 51, right? And it bounced straight back up, but still there, it would be hard to take this, I think.
Yeah, hang on. I'm trying to fix the camera here because something got messed up. I don't know why it switched my view of you. I'm not really sure what it's doing.
Should I move?
There it goes. I don't know why it just did that. It just reassembled the way our screens are. And sorry guys, I don't mean to interrupt the stream. I moved a page. I was just trying to look at one of my other screens, and then it moved your face over to a different spot for some reason. Either way, but yeah. So some of these ones that jump up like this, they are tough to catch now. There is times you can get into these. And I've played around on the idea of getting at these in on this kind of stock at the end of the day, which I've had some success with, but I've also it's pretty hit or miss for me, so I don't really find enough correlation in terms of being able to have a high enough hit percentage to make that make sense. But there was a lot of stuff on Friday that I had that was doing good. You know, just to go to some of the breakouts from Friday. I'm assuming this is Friday's. No, it must be the other one. Yeah, ABBRF. This is when I was in. Annoyingly, I got. This is a long-term hold for me. I caught this one of these breakouts, I think, and had sold out most of my position here. The other half broke down, and then of course, right after I broke the 10-day moving average, it popped right back up. ADUR is one, or ADUR is one that I thought looked pretty good. This looks like kind of a clean breakout to me. I didn't catch this, but you know, I like to go through every day at the end. ATRO, this is the one you were just talking about, so it still makes the list. I took Drone Shield, and once again forgot that this one charges you charges you $50 just
Oh, that
to
was fun.
take it, which $50 isn't, you know, much in the grand scheme of the thing, but it's just annoying that they even charge you. And actually, I hope they don't charge me on the way out. I didn't even check that. I should probably check if I sell, do I get charged?
Probably.
It just makes you have to fight a few cents just to you know, stay in. Essentially, it's just a stupid way of doing things.
Yeah.
This is one I don't know how I missed this on somewhere in here. I don't know, but I totally missed this one. Oh, you know what? Probably because the market cap's too small. I bet when it was cheaper, I didn't even, my screener wouldn't pull it up, because I think I don't even pull up market cap unless it's above 15 million.
Yeah.
So I mean, this was trading as a super. This is super speculative.
Yeah,
So,
I can't see any news here.
I'm sure there's not. Like, you gotta. There's just, you know, this is talking, you know, 500,000 shares moved on something that's, you know, only $15 million in market cap. That's really not. I mean, that's a lot of money for something like this, but this is a super small company.
Yeah.
I thought this one looked interesting. It was up 8%, and it just is. I mean, this is a long consolidation period here to me.
Yeah.
It's a little big, 2.5 billion. You know, Momo. This is one I thought looked good. I didn't get into it only because my cash is all pretty much held up. I didn't really want to spend my last one. I like to kind of hang on to just have one more position. But I thought this one looked pretty clean on Friday.
Yeah.
This one's more stair-stepping, and it's you know, it's mining, so it's one of those ones that's been benefiting like all the other ones were. But it is 52-week high.
Yeah. We looked at AG2, right? Silver.
Yeah, all the silver stuff was up. You know,
Yeah.
all the ETFs, SVM, all them things were moving good.
Yeah.
Next, this is one that you and I had talked about. It had really good volume too. It didn't in the morning, by the way. So this candle, it looked super easy to see here at the end of the day.
Yeah. It just kept going, that one.
Yeah. And you know, I was thinking it was tough to tell because it wasn't too much consolidation here, but it was, you know, running up, and it's riding that 10-day moving average perfectly. So it was actually a pretty good example of one. But either way, you know, like I said, it got to 52-week high and held up, so this would have been a smart one to be in. OSS, that's the other one I did get in. Oh, here's SVM. Now, you know, the reason why a lot of these silver ones is tough for me is because there's not much consolidation. This is obviously all based on just kind of the way the tariffs have been going and stuff, and people are just kind of bullish on these things. Now, this is close to 52-week high, which looks good. But not much of a consolidation period here. Like this one here, if you had gotten in right here on this little cup and handle, that looks better to me. But this is like still part of this whole run up here. So I look at this and I feel like it's kind of late to get in.
I saw the uranium stocks also had a good day on Friday, and if you look at the LEU, for example, a little bit of a big market cap also, but it looks decent right here.
What was it?
LEU.
Oh, EU. Yeah, I would say this. I would argue that looks pretty good.
Yeah, and the entire group had a good day, but maybe not the best week for them. But Friday was good. If you look up CCJ, but that's a much bigger company, but they all look a little bit like that, you know.
Yeah, my thing is I'm just not getting into something this big. You know, this is already at 3.5 billion.
No. Yeah, we have spoken about you before, and there's no setup on that chart either, but it's in an uptrend at least. I think the most attractive for me in this group would be LEU.
Yeah, and you know, one thing in terms of looking for different strategies and stuff, I am trying to, like I said, just stick with the breakout setup, just because I find like I'm decent with that one, and obviously it's been working for me. And I am using the 10-day moving average. I have switched over to exponential moving average, by the way, for my 10-day. I used to use just the simple, but I do, like, I understand now kind of the idea behind the exponential moving average, so I did switch over to that as well. I know Qualamaji had said he did it at one point, which made me kind of seriously think about why. And it's really just to stay on top of things as you get more pertinent data. You know, you might get stopped out a little bit quicker, but it's probably going to save you on. There's only a few that ride up and really are successful in the ride up. I mean, those ones are really important to catch because that's what makes your entire year. Is every time you catch like for me, ZVRA. This is one that, you know, I got on, I think on this day, and I'm still in it, and it just keeps piling higher. You know, and you know, we've talked about like Ava, for instance. This is another one that, like, you know, you can ride this to here, get in on this one, ride it this. Actually, it didn't even break 10-day moving average, so you wouldn't even have gotten out until here. So yeah, these are, you're holding these for, you know, a month or two, but at the same time too, you're just, I mean, you're getting multi-baggers here doing this.
Yeah.
So
and another thing with these stocks you are going through now is like, imagine if next week is an update for AIVA and it's setting up after a longer consolidation period. This is super interesting to try to get in on the next move, for me at least, because this just looks so great.
I mean, there's
if it can set up for another breakout.
Yeah, and you know, I see this kind of buying. It's got to be institutional. There's no way retail can hold this up. So people are buying this. They like this. And that's what, you know, one thing, if you understand fundamentals, and then you can look at it like, I think this is also to RK's, you know, point is, if you understand trading, but you know fundamentals and what actually moves things, it allows the trading to make so much more sense, and vice versa. I think trading helps you understand the moves that you don't understand from a fundamental perspective. So when I see this kind of volume and you just see these typical setups like this, I mean, this one forms perfect box patterns. I mean, you know, if you're trying to, that's a terrible line. There's some better lines in terms of, like, you know, this is kind of like the consolidation period. And as it hits this, you know, that's where you get in. And then once again, I mean, you're not even out until here. So that's at like $29 and you got in at 8.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and then we're talking a 2-month hold period.
Yeah.
So, and this is an easy one, actually. By the time this broke out, it wasn't up much that day. So this wasn't a hard one to get into or anything like that, which is what we're looking for. You know, the one that pops 20% on the first day, this first candle's, you know, too big. It's really tough to get in it on some of those, because you're going to get stopped out if it's moving up and down, because you have to think about the intraday moves. Now this one is, you know, breaking down a little bit now, so I'm not saying to watch this necessarily, you know, too close right now. And once again, you know, we're at 1.4 billion for market cap, so sure, it could go up again and go higher, but just think of your odds. Think of the odds of how much these things move as they get bigger and bigger like this.
Yeah.
And then the other one is AMPX. That's the other one for me. That's same idea. I got in here and have just been riding it up. Or maybe it was, I'm pretty sure it was this one here.
Yeah.
And once again, same idea. It's not like I'm, you know, I just keep pointing out kind of the same thing. I mean, there's not a huge or long consolidation, but I would argue that this is kind of the consolidation period here. And we're at, you know, a longer high. So if I see these things lining up, you know, and it starts to break out on this day here, I'm taking that. And then, you know, sure, it pulled back, but I'm up, I don't know, 40% right now, 30%, something.
Yeah.
So
I have seen this pattern a little bit in this environment, I think, Dane. If you look at it's kind of like a breakout on Thursday, 26th of June on AMPX, right?
On AMPX?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it pulls back, and then comes the real breakout, you know. That type of pattern, I've seen it happen in multiple stocks in the last, you know, month or so. Like you fail on the first one, and then it comes, you get the second chance, and then it actually goes. Because it had volume on the 26th as well. So that looks like a good setup, you know, but you would probably be stopped out in the next few days there. And then it could be a bit rough to take it again when it's setting up, but that would be the right decision here.
Yeah, and this is why I hold the bigger highs as an important landmark. Like for instance, if you looked here, this had a bunch of run-ups going on in here, and it's going to look like different setups if you're trying to measure some of these consolidations. Now this is really choppy in here, so I'm not saying this is a perfect example of this, but if you look here, you know, and we mark this as more of a long-term point, and you can catch it on this day here. This is one, and like I said, this is a tough one once again because it's a long candle here, and to be honest, we're below the 200-day moving average there, so that kind of makes me, you know, I wouldn't necessarily be looking at this just yet. But if you wanted to argue, then you know this breakout here. Now this did pull back on this day, so I'm not saying you wouldn't get stopped out here, but there is a few days of movement up, and you know your final day when you got stopped out would have been over here. So
yeah,
you know,
but I mean the big difference that you see in now all the way to the right on your chart is like those big volume spikes, right?
Yeah, and on top of the bigger volumes, the other thing though. Like I said, is, you know, this is a 52-week high, so it holds more precedence here. I mean, there's a clear cup and handle here. I don't know if you guys can see cup and handles, but that's a cup and handle in my mind. You know, there's the cup with a handle. And, you know, as it starts to break out from this high, and, you know, you and I have I kind of pull this up now once in a while just to kind of check things. Look at this on the weekly. You know, the daily one's choppy, you know, and you can see it on these candles here. But when you see this on a weekly, and then you can zoom into the daily one, it helps to have the different time frames. You know, I like to look out at time frames. I like to zoom into the, you know, even to the minute timeline just for the daily, just so I can figure out what's going on. Because that can help time your entrance into one of these things, so you're not getting stopped out so easy. And then once you're in, you're good. You know, then you're just letting it ride. But you're trying to time it to get in without triggering your stop loss, and then, you know, riding and catching a good part of the move. You know, and I've almost caught this entire thing up here. You know, like I said, I'm up whatever, almost all that. Not quite that much, but
that's a good move.
But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. And you know, like just to pull up the portfolio so you guys can just kind of see, because I actually haven't hosted in a second. You've been doing all the legwork here. You know, you'll see the same kind of pattern over. You know, adapt I got in here, and luckily it pulled back to here, but it's held on, so I haven't got stopped out of this one yet. I'm hoping for another move. Because even though I sell 50% of my position, if I can catch the next big move up with 50% of my position, it's still going to be a great game. Takes a little bit, but either way, there's AMPX, drone shield. You can kind of see what I'm thinking here. And the last time it jumped up, you know, I'm hoping I don't get stopped out of this one too easy. This one, probably in hindsight, this is a tough one, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. FinViv, once again, kind of 52-week high, a little bit of consolidation here. It's not perfect. I'm not saying I'm looking for perfect setups every time. I'm just looking for things that have similarities to what I want. This one I got on this day, and I actually caught this really low in the day. So this actually has been a big winner for me because I got in somewhere at like 9:30, 9:29, something like that. So this one's been going well. Joy's pretty obvious, really tight candles here right before it starts to break out that day. I mean, you know, this is just another example. Be careful of these foreign ones. I've noticed every time I get in these, you can't set a stop loss, so you have to keep an eye on these.
Yeah.
Just at least my broker one, I use Fidelity, so I don't know if that's everybody. You know, all these are the same, and a lot of these names I've been in now for a little bit. And I'm just kind of riding that 10-day. SGHC, this is another example of one I believe I got in on this breakout here. You know, this consolidation period was looking good, and then I'm still in it, so we'll see. We'll see if it can push higher. If not, it's all good. TTMI, this is another one I got in. I can't remember which one. I'm thinking it's this one, but maybe it's way back here. It might have been in mid-June. WT, this is another one. You know, it just keeps riding higher. You know, some of these names where you got these long up patterns. These are great ones to get in on.
Yeah.
And there's ZVRA. So, I mean, that's the portfolio right now. So, I mean, like I said, you can see the same chart patterns and ideas of what I'm looking for. It's not like I'm trying to do anything special. But like we talked about, the trick is getting in and staying in and not triggering the stop loss too often.
Yeah.
And then I haven't really been looking at too much, what do you call it, value stuff right now.
What is USEG at now? 140 or something?
Yeah, and actually
132?
USEG's chart there, it did tap 130.
Yeah.
I'll go. This is an hourly chart, but it did get down here. I mean, it's still only at 136. I would like it a little lower if I could, but I don't know. This has been running sideways now for a few days. I don't know if it will go much lower, to be honest.
No, it's a bit hard because it seems to have taken a small step up from where you initially got in at, between 1 and 120.
Yeah, and I mean, this does somewhat track with the markets like most things do. But this opportunity on this day was just too good for me not to take, which, I know I had said I was in for the long haul, but I'm not one afraid to. I learned that from Burry. Burry said he doesn't care even if it's a value play that he's been, thinking it's going to take a few years or whatever. If something pops 100%, he's not afraid to take, gains. So neither am I.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, this was part of the reason I got the portfolio up as much as I did. So, like I said,
Yeah,
I actually
for
like
sure.
the economy. If the markets pull back, I'll switch right back over to value. And I like to always bring this up because so many people are critical of value because they look at the stupid market trends, and RK taught this to us. I don't give a shit if the overall index for value is down. If you are thinking about value, you want to know how to measure value properly. Don't look at an index that's all value stocks. Look at the top 20 performing stocks that were at a cheap price. That's value. That's the ones that went up. If you didn't catch those 20 stocks, like, you're not doing value. You're just buying an index. Like, that doesn't make any sense. You can't even look at value in terms of an index. If you are, you're totally missing what the idea of index or of value is. There's only a few companies that are gonna, have massive returns from 52-week lows because of fundamentals. And if you're not focused on those companies and those ones alone, then I feel like you're fundamentally missing the idea of what value is.
Or it just takes too much work for people.
Yeah, sure. If you don't want to do if you don't want to do the work, but like, I don't think it's that hard. We can sit here and look at chart. I mean, trading in my mind is a lot easier. Value takes like some digging, but at the same time too, if someone's got decent cash flow and there's any kind of decent narrative and the balance sheet looks pretty safe to me, that's a pretty easy way to like kind of shotgun some ideas across there and catch some of those names. And and this comes from the trading, and obviously we've made this mistake before, but now I just keep that stop loss in place even on a value play.
Yeah.
And you have to keep that a little looser, just because value plays will go down. There's nothing you can do about that. But if you do, they can work out. And if you can get a 100 or 200% return, and it's in the course of a year or something, it's not a bad thing to hold. I mean, it's kind of it just depends on how guaranteed you are in the idea, and then what the catalyst time frame is for value. But yeah, so once again, if this dips into the 20s, I will definitely consider taking my position again, which I'll probably just bring back up to 10% like I did last time.
I would be interested in that as well, but I kind of want to wait till it actually goes a bit lower, if it does, and just accept that I can't get into it if it doesn't go down to around between 110 and 120, which it might not do. Right now, it's like following, well, the 50-day moving average is on the way up, right? So it's kind of resting on all of them here.
Yeah,
So,
I just from a fundamental perspective, though, the way I look at this is, like I said, and I've talked about this a little bit before, but it's an options play. And reason I say that is because they're switching over to helium from natural gas. The wells are going to be developed in 2026. Like, actual, product will be sold in 2026. So we'll have an idea of how much those wells are producing. in terms of helium and other gases and what their actual money that they're going to generate is. So as we get closer to that, unless there's bad news, this is going to continue to trend up. So you can see that this got down to the dollar mark, but if you think it's going to get down there again, I would be surprised, because I don't think it's going to get down this far, because as we get continually further along into the year, we're getting closer and closer to that success mark. So
Yeah.
the market, to me, on this one, this is a traditional deep value play. People are sleeping on this because they want to see the results before they buy in. But if you want to wait to see that, you're too late. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm pushing it into the 20s. I don't think it will get down that low, but that's really where I want to see it. And I'm hoping that if there's a sell-off in the markets or something like this and this drops down there, I can get in.
That guy has
another
stopped
way you can
buying a
scale
little bit.
into
though.
it. Sorry, what'd you say?
That guy has stopped buying a little bit.
I wouldn't say that.
He bought last time in beginning of June.
Yeah, when it was at $1.30, so he's still purchasing in that range.
Yeah.
But no matter what, I mean, he's just showing consistency in buying, and you can see he was doing 1,500 shares, bumped it up to 2,500, 2,500. This guy, Keys Randall sold on the day I did. He saw it get up into the $2, and he's like, I'm taking gains. And
Cashing
he
in.
sold 20% of his position. So I don't blame him.
He's on a nice summer holiday right now.
Yeah, he's already made his year. He's doing okay. But Smith, he's talked about it. He said that if they're always considering being acquired as well. He wants to run the business as well as possible and set it up in the future to not only be running well on its own, but to be an acquired or a desirable acquisition, really, that has clear, clean cash flows. If you look at the helium numbers and some of the other natural gases that they could possibly get out of the ground, I don't know. I still like the story. And I'm biased towards USEG now. This is twice I've made great money on this stock. So I don't know why, but this one every time. And then once again, when natural gas started, or when the cost of gas started to go up and it caused this whole thing, there's so many people who don't even know about helium with this company, which just goes to show me that most people have no idea what this company is even doing.
Yeah. And there was some positive forecasts in the latest earnings report, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think target price right now is $3.50.
Yeah.
So,
and he said like things are on track. We are making the transition like we have planned, and just gave us maybe not a surprise or anything, but it was an update that you wanted to hear, right?
Right.
On the last one.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll see. I don't know if I can get it in the 20s. Maybe I'll take it around low 30s. But I'm just gonna, if it starts to trail up, then I'll possibly get in a little bit higher than I would like to. It still could be like 150% return. If it makes it to 350, and it's over the course of a year. So obviously it's not the fastest thing. So it depends on what you want. Are you trying to look for returns in a day time frame, or are you okay to wait a year? In my mind, I treat value very differently than trading. And value is much more of an investing idea. So you have to just accept that if you're willing to have different positions and be able to kind of keep that straight in your head, where you're not worried about what you're doing per se on that. Yeah, I'm just thinking if I took a 10% stop loss at, for instance, like 130, that would mean I got 13 cents. Do I think this would make it down to $1.17 again and stop me out? That's like the kind of thing in my head I think about.
Yeah.
Like $1.30 seems like it could be a good buy. Just look at this on a shorter time frame.
Has there been any comments on that article, like some updates?
Which one?
Oh, there's the most recent is from 19th of June. Have you seen that?
But where is it? Where's the article? Which one you say?
Seeking Alpha on USEG.
Oh, I forgot. I got kicked out of my thing.
Okay.
Do you have it where you can see your comments?
Yeah, I can see the comments. It's just a question that he answered to, and the article is a little bit long, so I'm not gonna go through it. But I can do the summary. It's saying like U.S. Energy's transitioning from oil and gas to industrial gases, focused on helium extraction and CO2 sales to diversify revenue. Companies building a 17 mmcf per day CO2 processing plant, increasing capex, but unlocking higher volumes and tax credit opportunities through CO2 sequestration. Recent well costs have declined, and USEG's existing oil and gas assets help de-risk the speculative nature of this development phase. With no debt, a share buyback program, and projected EBITDA of 6 million, USEG offers an out-of-the-box early-stage growth opportunity.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's got so many things. No debt. It's a share. They've been buying back shares. They're shareholder friendly.
Insider purchases.
Insider purchases. Like, I don't know how many check boxes you're trying to hit on a stock that's trading, generally cheaper for where it's supposed to be in a year.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of like no-brainer value plays like I look for these days. Like, and Buffett talks about it. You're looking for swings that look like they're going to hit out of the park. I feel like this is a slow pitch.
Yeah.
So I really probably should consider getting my position opened back up, because I always, like I said, I think it will trickle up, not down, just because of the nature of the fact that we're getting closer and closer to the catalyst. But that's the one thing that gets most value investors, is you think that, and it can always go down before it goes back up. So once again, this is not financial advice. Do your own due diligence. I'm not saying anything in terms of buying this, but that's what I see in it.
Yeah. No, I'm reading some of the comments. I'm sure you have seen this because these are from March.
Yeah, I've read everything that was up.
Yeah. It's just like people are a bit impatient and talk about like it's a bit far into the future, but that's also like contradictory to what deep value really is. Like that's the entire point of being in early here.
Yeah, you have to accept you're going to hold something for, to be honest, traditional value, you're holding stuff for 10, 15, 20 years, you know what I mean? Like, so in my mind, deep value is not that bad. You're holding something for a few months to maybe like, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier. And this is like a clear 1 year catalyst with, possible even more upside, just because everything works out in the next year and then we start to get numbers. If they continue to open up more wells, which that's their plan, and now they already have the factory to, refine this and actually sell it as a product. I think the potential longer term upside's even bigger. And then once you always have acquisition as a possibility on the table, which I never hold that highly, but it's there.
And if you have some money you want to spend on deep value and like this name, it's like just follow the story, get an entry that you're happy with, and like you said earlier, just use the stop loss, and you don't need to worry necessarily so much about it because it can always gap down, of course, but I think if you are a bit updated ahead of earnings and stuff like that, you can take some risk off maybe. Alto is a good example of that. We saw the stock was running up to 4 ahead of earnings a couple of times, right?
Yeah.
I was so stupid I didn't take anything off. That would have been a gain, and then 60% down. But if something starts to move up, maybe ahead of a promising earnings or something like that, take some off and still use the stop loss, and just be updated on the story. I know we have posted in the Discord, like there's a video of the CEO speaking and stuff like that. So I think the information is very accessible.
Yeah, I think no matter what, the way, and this is from trading, because obviously if you're looking at value, it's hard to determine how high something could go. And, you know, you could hold something, I mean, you know, you buy USEG, maybe you hold it for 5 years, end up, because it just keeps going up and it makes it to, you know, 20 bucks a share, 30 bucks a share. You know, if the company was to really take off and be really successful with helium, I'm not saying that's even a plausibility. I'm just saying as a hypothetical here. But let's say it gets up to like the $350 range and you're like, ooh, I really feel like you have that feeling of selling. Usually I'll take some off there because at that range, if I feel like I should be taking something off, I'll sell there some part of it. So then that way, you know, at least I've locked in some gains. And if the next day it was to drop down, at least I got whatever profit I had gotten at that point. And then over the next year, if it doubles again, you know, and I'm like, wow, I'm so glad I held through that. You'll you know, pat yourself on the back for not, you know, totally blowing it.
Yeah, and maybe use the strategy we have talked about earlier, like the 50-50, and you will be happy either way, you know. If it goes up, thank God I saw, I kept some half of my position, and if it goes down, thank God I sold and took the profits.
Yeah, and you know, trading and investing itself are so mental that you have to have those kind of things in place, or you're going to end up making mistakes in terms of like, you know, you just get nervous and you sell out, and then you're kind of beating yourself up over it. So, you know, anytime you can find something like that.
Another point though, Dane, that we have spoken about it. That's the whole point, how we found USEG, but which you rarely see in other deep value stocks that I have seen, at least, is that this has also the potential to have these massive spikes in a day.
Yeah, well, it's a unique company in terms of it's a niche market, even in just terms of like the gas and oil side of things. They own a lot of land. They're, you know, they're in the U.S. So anytime that, like, you know, oil, and this was from the, you know, bombing of in Iran is, you know, when they were talking about closing the strait there. That's what the news sent us through the roof with like 3 or 4 other names. But I mean, and don't get me wrong, share count has gone up, so it's not like there's, you know, it's not like they're doing different things. But that was the thing is, you know, I wasn't even looking at this stock until this had already occurred, really.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really make me nervous. And like I said, now that their balance sheet's clean, you know, I mean, they don't really have any debt. So, you know, one thing one thing that I've learned is I can quickly look at market cap and EV, and if these numbers are close, I'm already a little bit more interested, you know, just because, and you know, that then becomes a little deceiving, you know, because you can look at cash flows and stuff like that, and while this seems historically low right now, where the business is in transition, so that's where you have to actually do some work, is once you see these numbers, figure it out from there. But
yeah.
But yeah, I was peeking at insider buying, and you know, nothing too crazy here that catches my eye. Lionsgate's got some good cash flow.
Who is owning it in Whale Wisdom and stuff?
For Lionsgate?
Oh, sorry, I'm still on USEG.
Hold on.
No, I'm just checking. There's a lot of 100% positions who is the majority owners. There's actually a new purchase, 7.65%. Wave Tech Helium.
Wave Tech Helium. See, that's the kind of thing, like, you don't think that sounds like an acquisition? You don't think that, doesn't that look like an acquisition in the works?
Yeah.
Who are these guys?
Wave Tech Helium is based out of Denver. That's all they have. Let me search for them in Google.
Yeah, same.
Oh, they have a website.
Helium gas reserves, including proven resources, 2 of the premier helium fairways in the world. Inert gas is used across many high-tech, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, wasn't that much information here, but
It doesn't say anything about specifically them, you know, but how did they get these other things? Were these acquired?
yeah, it says here Reliance's US unit buys 12 million stake in Helium Explorer Wave Tech. This is from 2024. So they own that company. The billionaire Mukesh Ambani run group, which operates the world's biggest oil refining complex at Jamnagar in the western Indian state of Gujarat, announced in 2021 investments worth 10 billion to develop its green energy portfolio and achieve its 2035 net zero carbon goal. So yeah, it does sound like some positioning at least. What was their average? It doesn't say.
U.S. Energy Corp announces transformative acquisition targeting helium production July 1st of 2024. Oh, you know what? So I wonder if this was just because this is okay. That's what it was. It's when they bought this land from WaveTech. USEG did.
Okay.
So they
Okay,
probably
so
gave
that-
them shares.
Yeah, I see. But on Fintel, it says ownership is almost 10%. So they gave them a lot of shares then.
Yeah, I mean 2.6 million, which there's only 34 million shares outstanding.
Yeah. Okay, so it's from a deal then.
Either way, but it just makes me think the whole, you know, it does keep the acquisition idea on play.
Yeah. And if you look at Whale Wisdom, even if they are smaller positions, there's a lot of new positions, actually.
Yeah, because like I said, I just think if you're looking for something that has, you know, kind of a pretty easy outlook. And there has been some big sells too, just to bring that up.
Yeah.
There were some owners who also got out 100%. But that was at the start of the year.
Yeah.
So to be honest, these guys might have been in for the gas idea.
Yeah.
But was January the first big pop?
No, it was
Yeah, it was.
a bit later. Huh? It was 21st.
Right, but I'm talking January is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, it was in January.
So this guy got out, it says, before? Did he get out right as it, they probably sold into here, and then the other guy, as it pulled back, probably got out on one of these days. But a lot of money was made there.
Yeah.
Depending on how much they owned.
Well, interesting to see the development here.
All right. You got anything else for today that you wanted to cover?
No, I think you went through like Futu was another one, a little bit of a different, a bigger company again, FUTU. But that broke out kind of like on Wednesday, I guess, Thursday.
Yeah, this is a great chart. Now, once again, it's a little big for me, but
yeah,
You know, the one thing I'll say about these bigger moves is they are a little bit more secure. They tend to be, you tend to get stopped out of these names a little bit less just because of that fact. They don't return as much, which is my issue.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
this one
because you
still has
really,
an ADR of 4.5, so it's decent at least.
yeah, but like this is where I don't like ADR because like that seems deceiving to me. Because at this size, it's only going to grow by so much.
Yeah.
Like sure, it's been moving up, you know, when you're talking ADR, but I don't know. I don't find that as useful in my mind.
Yeah.
Which maybe other people are seeing it differently than I am. But you know, obviously this is a easy 52-week high break, and
Yeah,
you
it
even
did
had
break
one day
that.
here where you could have got in before the actual big move up.
Yeah,
So
and that's almost like a 15% move actually in 3 days. So that
right.
was a solid one.
Yes, and I mean 15% is enough to make it totally worth your while. I just like I said, there's
Yeah.
very few of these that do this when you got your market cap, you know, this high. I'm drawing. I was supposed to draw a box over that, not block it with my line.
Oh
Which is
yeah.
my point.
Dane, we have a chat here. I didn't notice until now from Poom. Will this live archive? I'm still listening at CLBR section. Yes, it is all gonna stay at our YouTube page, and we also have a Discord poem that we keep the conversation going a little bit. At least we try to. So if you join the Discord, you can reach us there as well during the week.
Yeah, on our
But all
YouTube
the
page,
all
everything's posted in the live section.
yeah, everything we record here is if you go to the live section, you will see we have over 200 videos. Now, with the short videos, we have 209 videos in total.
Yeah, we're just doing this. You know, it was obviously kind of in hindsight of RK's stream ending, and you know, eventually we got into it after we had built out the spreadsheets. But I don't know. It's been going well for me. You know, since I've really been recording, and I've been using swing trading, and I've kind of finally adjusted my deep value strategy to where I like it. You know, I'm up 51% to date, and that puts me this year at 23%. And this has not been a great year necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm figuring in better years, 23% is probably on the low side. Last year, if I, you know, I'd done the math and figured out if I was not doing a lot of stupid mistakes and stuff, I could have easily been up 50% last year.
Yeah.
So I still have, you know, the rest of the year to try and double this number because you know, my goal is 50% a year. But you know, I'm sure no one will start to follow us until we can show this time and time again.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I always try and show my portfolio and stuff so you guys can see what I'm in. You can see how long I've been in it. You know, just so everyone knows that that's what I'm truly doing. And don't get me wrong, there's names I get stopped out of that obviously you guys don't see. So it's not like my hit rate's probably around, depends on the week. Sometimes it's 25%. Sometimes it's a little above like 33. So, you know, sometimes it's 1 in 3. Occasionally I get lucky, a really good week. Like this last week was good for me. I bet it was almost 50%. Like half the stuff I win in, I got to stay in.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I'm still working on adjusting, you know, as time goes on, moving my stop loss up without moving it too quickly, you know, and getting knocked out of something when, you know, it should be a gain in the long run. So there's a lot that goes into it. Don't get me wrong, but
Just on CLBR, Pum, like if you listen to what we said, we talked about it there, but for us, the way we see it, that's a little bit of a more speculative side of our style of investing, but definitely a story there that it's worth keeping an eye on.
yeah, I mean, you know, looking at the chart, you know, I see there's a little bit of a cup and handle here before it comes off. And I guess you could argue that this whole thing's a little bit of a cup and handle here, and now it's getting towards that next breakout. So that's the one thing that makes it interesting for me is it's a tough chart. Don't get me wrong. It's not a clean setup by any means. But with all the news going around it and the fact that it actually got all the way up here, we'll see. We'll see what can happen.
Yeah. if you can manage to catch this has a potential for some quick gains, I guess.
I mean, you know, like I said, in terms of like day trading, this is one that
Yeah.
you could day trade it. Now, I will say be careful because like, you know, it broke up here and then finally broke down, you know, and then you see multiple times it kind of like comes up and falls down, comes up, falls down, and then finally it starts to gain enough support that it breaks out again. But it's definitely not an easy one.
If you don't own shares here already and are watching this and something happens this week, I think you should have a very clear plan before you even buy your first share here. So you have a strategy you have to execute on and you know, because making a lot of decisions when you are up or down for that matter is, well, it's good to have thought about some of the scenarios from the start, you know.
And I always think of it too, like, you know, if something like this is kind of speculative, but I think there's a way I can get into it, I can also just make the position size smaller. So then that way, you know, if I get kicked out, it's not much that I lost.
Yeah.
And if it goes up parabolically, great, you know, I'll take the win.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, this is a tough chart. I'll say that no matter what. This is not clear. I'm trying to see stuff in here, but it's all over the place.
Almost every candle is pretty wide.
Yeah, that's the thing. I see this wide of candles, and I'm like, your chance of getting stopped out on this is super high.
Yeah. But I'm gonna watch it for this week. I may take no position at all, but it's gonna be on my lists here.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, you got anything else to add there? Or?
No, I think that's. I'm still trying to. It's been a bit of a messy period for me last month, really. But I'm getting there, and I've been back trading this week. A bit frustrating, like I started the stream out saying, I've been stopped out a little bit after a good day one. I got stopped out on a few names in day two. So I'll just keep going and see if I can get a good week soon. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, you have good weeks. Last week was not a good week for me. I was down, like, I don't remember. I think it ended up only being like 4% at the end, but I was down almost 7% at one point. So, and it wasn't like it was a bad week for trading. I just am missing stuff, and you know, statistically, you're gonna have bad weeks. If you do the math, which I've done quite a bit, the way I have it set up is like a typical bad drawdown period could be easily 10% for me. So it's not crazy to think that when I hit a high, my next week could literally be a 10% drop. Like that's not something that can't occur.
But that's also experience that we are going through, and it's good to have that experience. So you kind of get used to it. Like this is what you have to deal with, and you just need to. This is how it is, you know. David is in here. Hello, guys. He's saying. Hey, David, we are about to finish up, but if you have some questions or something, maybe we can quickly answer something. Hope your week been good.
Yeah, and as always, you can post in the Discord if you guys are, you know, want to talk about things or whatever. And in the Discord, you know, if something's going on, you know, during the day, we'll be talking about it in there too. So
yeah,
it's all small right now, but you know, I kind of like it like that. I like right now that it's not overwhelming with like a ton of different stuff going on. It's a little easier for me.
And kind of nice to see the same people tuning in. You know, it's very good. And you know, we have tried to experience a little bit with the different times to do the live stream, because we understand it's very early for most people in the States at least, and in that part of the world. But so far we haven't really figured it out how to manage it. But we will continue to see and test things out, I think. He's saying no questions, keep being awesome. Thank you, David.
Thanks,
you too.
All
Appreciate
right,
that.
I guess we'll end it there. I hope everybody has a good rest of your week. Next week, I'll have to talk to you, Johnny, about what time to do the stream, just because of travel and stuff like that. So it might
Yeah.
it might be a little bit all over the place, but I'll let you
Yeah.
know.
Well, we will try to post in the Discord. I will say one thing though for this coming week. The glasses are on.
Yes. They've been on the whole stream,
So,
guys. I mean, this is like, I wouldn't be surprised
the
if next
entire
week
stream.
the entire markets are up 10%.
And anything can happen because I have no control of these glasses.
Either that or wearing the glasses too often are going to totally bite us in the ass, and it's going to all tank. So we'll find out soon enough.
We will find out. So let's see.
But anytime we've had the
maybe this
glasses
thing-
on so far, it's been very bullish. So
it has also escalated a couple of the wars, so I don't want to do that again.
we can't control those things. All right, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to worry about strong markets.
Yeah.
You know.
All right.
Yep, that was a great ending. All right, bye guys.
Bye bye.